Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video I'm going to be carrying on my Merlin Rewind series. For those of you who are watching at the moment and don't know what that is, pretty much every week I take a look at one big Merlin attraction and take a look at their history, diving into it and sharing it with you guys. So if you guys do go on to enjoy the video, make sure to like, subscribe, anything makes me know you guys like my content. We are trying to hit 700 subscribers by the end of the month. It's not really seeming too likely, but if you do want to help contribute to that, then yeah, definitely feel free to subscribe. Now obviously in today's video I'm going to be talking about Nemesis. Now Nemesis has actually been the one that's actually been quite suggested for this series that I make, so yeah, I thought I'd share it with you guys today. I'm not only going to be going over the original Nemesis attraction, I'm going to be going over all of the other attractions connected to Nemesis, so obviously I'm going to be going over Inferno as well as Subterra as well. So with that said, let's get right into the video. Okay, so we're going to be starting off with the story or the kind of history of the original Nemesis attraction. Now, the story for this actually starts all the way back in 1990. Now, prior to this year, Alton Towers had just released their Thunder Looper ride. Obviously, this was one of the bigger rides that obviously Alton Towers had added at the time. Obviously, it was really successful. Obviously, the park was starting to grow a little bit. So, understandably, Alton Towers decided to look for their next big attraction. Now, for this, they actually went to Aerodynamics. Now, Aerodynamics were going to actually make them a pipeline coaster, which was a new type of coaster at the time, where you kind of sit above the track, kind of in between the rails. It's a really weird attraction. Definitely go look up different videos and that of it, because it's actually really interesting to look at. However, yeah, John Wardley, obviously, he was the lead designer for this project. For those who don't know who John Wardley is, he's pretty much the creator of Nemesis. He's done loads of other rides, not only at Alton Towers, but elsewhere around the UK and the world as well. Very interesting man. Obviously, he does have an autobiography out, so yeah, that's very interesting as well. So yeah, this happened back in 1990. They were working on this project for a couple of years, and then suddenly Aerodynamics had a problem. Now, because of the financial problems Aerodynamics were actually experiencing, the project had to be put on hold for a year, and obviously, just like that, a year later, the project was revived under a new code name known as Secret Weapon 2. Now, obviously, the original code name for the original attraction was going to be Secret Weapon, and the whole attraction would have been themed around a military base, kind of similar to the kind of thing we got, obviously, later on in Nemesis' storyline, when obviously we got Phalanx and things like that. Now, obviously, when the project was revived a year later, it got a lot further than it did the year before, and obviously a prototype actually was made. Now, John Wardley actually flew out and tried the prototype and described it as very slow and boring and just wasn't interesting enough. Now, obviously, this set the park to then kind of put it again once on hold and then wait to find another attraction or another fit alternative. Once the project had then been put on hold again, it was almost fate as later on in 1992, Bolliger and Millard, if I've really butchered that name, or B&M as it's mostly known, had actually made their first B&M invert that was Batman the Ride at Six Flags Great America. Now, John Wardley actually flew out, he rode this ride just as a normal attraction. He was kind of getting to know the actual lead of the project and some different people within Six Flags, and kind of got to know how they came about the attraction. Now, after this, he actually got in contact with B&M and decided that this would be the ride he would want at Alton Towers Resort to open within 1994. So throughout the 1992 season, John Wardley began working on this brand new ride, who he then codenamed Secret Weapon 3. So, as 1992 then went on, the ride was starting to look a lot more complete, and obviously this then carried over into 1993. Now, obviously, they had actually kind of encountered a little bit of a problem. Nick Varney and obviously John Wardley, who were working on the attraction, obviously in their early days of creating things at Alton Towers, they obviously ran into the problem of the height limit. Now, because Alton Towers is a conservation area, you cannot build above the height limit. So, they kind of worked their way around this by obviously digging a big pit within the ground to kind of fit the ride in there so that it doesn't go over the height limit. Now, him and Nick Varney both actually came up with the name Nemesis, and they were actually sitting in the boardroom for hours talking about it. However, John Wardley said that he wanted a name that ended with "is," and then obviously later on they then settled on the name Nemesis and themed it around an alien creature who had crash landed on Earth, which obviously is the most famous theme probably in Alton Towers history. So, as the ride had been completed and construction was near at its end, a lot of marketing actually came out for for this ride, which surprised quite a few people who not only were close to Alton Towers, but for the people in the general public that didn't really know what it was, because this was one of the biggest attractions, I think, in Alton Towers' history. And I am going to make another video in my What If series talking about what if Nemesis actually wasn't built, because I feel like there would be a huge ripple effect there that would affect Alton Towers' future, because this was a really pivotal point for them. So obviously they really wanted to go all out. They had comics, they had t-shirts, they had loads of different things, they had TV adverts. It was a really big thing. So obviously it then opened in 1994, and it opened to great reception. It was one of the best kind of rides at the park, or it, you know, general reception kind of led to that anyway. However, obviously it brought them a lot of money and really kick-started not only the secret weapon program, but obviously a long line of coasters that would obviously come after it. Now obviously recently we haven't really had too many issues with Nemesis. Obviously a couple of years back it did actually have a little bit of refurbishment, obviously different bits of paint and stuff like that, just to kind of freshen up the attraction a little bit. But other than that, not really too much has actually happened with the attraction. There's been no real issues with it. Obviously it was its 25th birthday, obviously, as you can see by my t-shirt here, last year. So obviously they had a massive ceremony for that. Obviously John Wadley himself was there doing different kind of meet and greets with them. It looks like a really cool atmosphere, and yeah, for a very phenomenal coaster. However, the Nemesis story doesn't stop there. Now, obviously, those of you that obviously know a little bit about Two Swords or Merlin in general will know that obviously shortly after Nemesis was released, Two Swords acquired Thorpe Park. Now, obviously, Two Swords would go on to be bought by Merlin Entertainment a little bit in the future, way after this. This new partnership with Two Swords brought Thorpe Park quite a bit of good kind of marketing and good kind of sales. Now, obviously, in 2001, I'm pretty sure, oh no, 2002, I'm really annoying people there. Thorpe Park actually released Colossus, which was their debut attraction that really kick-started Thorpe Park to be one of the biggest, you know, thrill attractions in the UK. Now, obviously, alongside Alton Towers and things. Now, obviously, shortly after this, Thorpe Park actually went for a back-to-back attraction coaster build. Now, obviously, you wouldn't really see that nowadays. That's something that's really like rare, because obviously it costs so much money nowadays to build coasters, let alone market them, and it's a little bit easier to kind of spread them out a little bit. However, Thorpe Park did it shortly after they released Colossus. They then announced there would be another brand new attraction coming to the resort in 2003. Now, obviously, this attraction would go on to be Nemesis Inferno. Now, obviously, as soon as this kind of ride was attached to the Nemesis name, a lot of people really started to get excited and hyped for what this ride would actually have in store. Now, obviously, it's a very similar type of ride to Nemesis. Obviously, it's a B&M invert, much like Nemesis is. However, there's a little bit few changes. Obviously, you have the kind of pre-drop section at the beginning of the ride before you go into the lift hill. There's a lot more corkscrews in this than there are in the original Nemesis, which is kind of downside to a lot of people. But yeah, obviously it doesn't stop the excitement for this attraction really getting higher. Obviously the theming was amazing. It was obviously themed to a volcano. It was kind of themed to a Nemesis monster within the volcano, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that was actually explained a little bit later within Subterra, but obviously we will get into that in just a second. However, yeah, obviously Nemesis Inferno open to some mixed opinions. Now obviously, you know, a lot of people were expecting like high grade stuff for Nemesis Inferno, as it was attached to that Nemesis name. Obviously, a lot of people hold it high. I really enjoy Nemesis Inferno, not as much as the original Nemesis, but it is a good attraction nonetheless. And I feel like if they didn't name it Nemesis, it would have been so much better received, and a lot more people would hold it higher. But unfortunately, that's not how the way things go. So yeah, it opened to mixed reviews, but obviously it carried on. Has obviously now become one of the biggest rides at Thorpe Park. Obviously, it's really iconic, so it did do something good for them in the long term. After this, the kind of the name of Nemesis just carried on as normal for the next couple of years. Obviously, you know, both of the rides operate, both Nemesis Inferno and Nemesis operated. Obviously, it grew and grew on people as time went on, both of the attractions. And then, obviously, in 2011, something new was announced to be coming to Alton Towers within Forbidden Valley. Now, obviously, here we have the massive marketing campaign that came with Nemesis Subterra. Now, we've seen loads of different kind of, you know, marketing campaigns that really don't live up to the actual attraction. 13 is one of them. 13 was supposed to be marketed as the scariest ride in the world, and obviously you would have had to have a waiver for you to even go on it, but obviously none of that happened. It's a very similar case with Nemesis Subterra. Now, obviously this was marketed to be your worst nightmare underground, which is kind of the tagline of the whole attraction. Now, this obviously later was announced to be called Nemesis Subterra, and would be a continuation of the Nemesis storyline, focusing on Phalanx, which were actually established in the old comic. You can find the comic online, but yeah, these were kind of established in the comic book. They were kind of like these companies sent to kind of capture and hold down the Nemesis creature. Now obviously this opened in 2012. It wasn't very well received. Now this was obviously a drop tower. It was a drop tower mechanic system. Obviously you had the egg inside, that obviously you'd been invited, the kind of story of it, you've been invited to see this Nemesis egg that has been recently acquired by Phalanx. And obviously it all goes wrong, the egg hatches, the monster escapes, and then you kind of leave abruptly. Now obviously, a couple of years after this, obviously it was actually refurbished, and they actually added some containers outside that connected to the actual building itself, and kind of acted like a little mini scare maze at the end of it, which did really improve the attraction, at least what I've heard. Now obviously, back when the attraction opened, it actually was given a 12 ace classification, which a lot of people didn't really agree with when it first opened, because it just really wasn't that scary. And with this brand new section added, it kind of warranted it a little bit, with it feeling more like a scare attraction. You would see something like Scarefest than an actual kind of just toned down kind of attraction. Now obviously those of you that obviously know a little bit more about Nemesis Subterra will actually know that obviously this closed in 2015. It ceased operation forever. It was SBNO for about 4 years until obviously Project 42 came along, and that was the whole kind of continuation of Phalanx in a way, but it didn't really focus on Nemesis really whatsoever. So yeah, that is pretty much the entire history I could sum up of Nemesis. I didn't really want to waffle on too much about it. I kind of wanted to keep it brief, but keep it informative. So definitely let me know how you guys, reacted to this video. Did you like it? Didn't you like it? Like I said, I'm trying to get out a brand new what if video, potentially within the next couple of days, to do with Nemesis. So if you do want to see that as well, definitely let me know. And obviously we're trying to get 700 subs. So like I said at the beginning of the video, if you do want to contribute to that, definitely feel free to subscribe. It really does help me out, and I do appreciate every single one of you guys that are actually subscribing, supporting me, whatever, that sort of stuff. It really does mean a lot. You may not think it means a lot, but it really does. So I'm going to stop waffling now, and I'm going to get back to my day, and so can you guys. So without further ado, I'll see you guys later.